What's up, War Report family? I am your host, C Dub. Jalen Crawford chooses Auburn over LSU and Florida. Ike Jones and B will join me to discuss his recent commitment, what that means for the 2024 recruiting class, and there's a certain somebody who expects Auburn to be amongst the most improved teams in 2023. We will definitely discuss that as well as hear from you in the latest live edition of the Weekend Tailgate.
This is the Weekend Tailgate, brought to you by Golden Cast Iron. C-Dub, Ike Jones, Be Will, by G. You are now listening to.
Happy Sunday, everyone, and welcome to the latest Weekend Tailgate. We always want to get started by shouting out our show sponsor, Golden's Cast Iron. Guys, with them, you can work out, grill out, chill out. They have amazing grills, by the way. Happened to check out one myself and haven't bought one, but I'm impressed. And we want you to show them some love, guys. Special shouts out to them for showing us love. And we want to thank you guys for hanging out with us, man. We're doing a whole lot on a Sunday afternoon, but you're chilling with us. So we gladly appreciate it. And we would appreciate it even more if you shared our content on social media so that people could get access to it and join us in on the discussion. Smash the like button, guys. I can't stress that enough, how much that helps us. Please subscribe if you're new to the channel and get yourself a green name and get access to some of our content. Ike can tell you how you can do that.
There's a join button right there. Click it, decide how much you want to help contribute per month, and then you get access to a bunch of stuff. We've got a lot of great things coming up, a lot of film reviews. If you join today, you can go back and look at all the old film reviews, right? So doesn't mean that you got to wait for the new stuff. The old stuff that's there, get your fill of film. A lot of new film. Just did another session with Ben Grubbs that I'm going to be dropping coming up here. Some more offensive line stuff, some really great jewels of wisdom from Ben Grubbs. Got to be a member to see that content. $5.99 gets you to the patron level where it's on demand. If you want to gift a membership and you are a current member right now in the live chat, you can do that. Somebody gets a free month of their membership on you. Hashtag Get Your Weight Up right now, sponsored by GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. To enter for a chance to win this War Report t-shirt again today, we are going to be giving away another t-shirt. So hashtag that. We got a network going, man. So if you want to be in here listening to what's going on with the network, you could do that. Wherever you listen to podcasts, go ahead and tune in to the College Loop, the Auburn Express, and the Uptempo podcast, all parts of the War Report podcast network. Make sure you continue rocking with the network, folks. And, of course, our show sponsor, Golden's Cast Iron. Use code Get Your Weight Up for 15% off of weights and code TWR for $65 off of fire pits or Komodo grills.
Let's get into it, guys. Jalen Crawford, according to Rivals, a 250 ranked recruit, 4-star cornerback, recently committed to Auburn. And this is a kid whose commitment or recruitment, I should say, picked up starting this year, obviously with a new staff. Coming into Auburn, I think he was one of the junior day kids. And from there, Auburn just began to really take off with this kid. Schools like LSU were believed to be in it heavy for him. Even Clemson was in it for him at one point. Then it came down to Auburn and Florida. He liked Florida a lot, liked LSU a lot. But it was believed that he was an Auburn lean, and he committed on yesterday. I ain't gonna lie. I don't know if you guys saw the live or saw him actually. I think he pulled the pump fake on the Auburn hat. I was like, oh, bro, no, you ain't doing this. Then he had his choice of Auburn hats. So he commits. Instant reactions. B. Will, your thoughts about this pickup?
Zach Etheridge doing what he does best, recruit. Well, that's disrespectful because he is also a coach. So I don't know which he does better, but doing what he does very well consistently. recruit.
I agree
So
with that.
where in the hell are all these guys going to get all their snaps from? I don't know. But I'd rather have the problem of having too many guys who can be legitimate starters and contributors than having not enough of them, because we've had position groups where we don't have enough of them. All right. It hasn't been great. All right. Offensive line the last 4 or 5 years, not great. So if we got to have a choice between a glut or a lack, I'd rather have a glut. And it seems like we are looking at a continued glut of cornerbacks and safeties coming into that room under Zach Etheridge, and also Crime Dog, who is a remarkable coach and recruiter. The first thing that comes to mind is I know what type of money Florida has been throwing around down there, because I listen to the Amen Corner podcast. And if you listen to the Amen Corner podcast, well, a little bit of a hiatus right now. Summertime, let everything build up before we come back with some news to talk about. But Kenny B, our resident Florida expert, he is plugged in. He was very excited about what they were about to do after a shakeup in the NIL structure over there resolved itself, and then Florida hit quite a bit of a stride. So to hear that Florida had gotten in on his recruiting, I was like, ooh, come on now. I know what Florida's been hitting out the park the last 6 weeks or so. I don't want no funny business. Jalen Crawford stayed true to the way he was leaning. To out-recruit Florida and LSU is an accomplishment. I know Florida hadn't been the powerhouse that Georgia has been, or Alabama has been in recruiting, or even LSU has been. Florida is very similar to Auburn in that when all the wheels are moving the correct direction, we are going to be able to hold our own. Florida, as evidenced by their recent recruiting, has some of that momentum going. So this is a big win. This isn't like 4 years ago when Mullen didn't want to recruit for real and you out-recruited them. No, this is like Florida's back on the block and they're getting who they want. Can you out-recruit them? Yes, we can, and we just did. That's a win. That's a huge win. Not only for his talent and his skill set. I think he's 6 feet even, 185. Not a tremendously tall guy, but you don't have to be a tremendously tall guy to be an outstanding cornerback. We have been putting a lot of defensive backs in the league, and they have been productive in the league. That does a lot for us. Not just, of course, Carlton Davis with the Bucs winning a championship, Jamel Dean also with the Bucs winning a championship, getting second contracts with the Bucs after winning a championship. That speaks for us. That does a lot of work for us. Roger McCreary went top of the second round, and all reviews were stellar for his first season. When you can put guys, Daniel Thomas as well, with the Jags, contributing consistently, Sherwood with the Jets, we're putting secondary players in the league, and they are thriving when they get there. Rudy Ford got back on the Green Bay Packers, and he was like bouncing around the league, and then he had like 4 interceptions over the course of a few games last year. Our cornerbacks, our defensive backs get in the league, and they do well. I think that did just as much lifting for us as the facility or anything else that spoke well for Auburn. He definitely spoke about the family atmosphere. You put it all together, though, what Zach Etheridge can do, what our guys are doing once they get to the league. I don't want to say this was an easy win. I was less concerned about this one than I am about a couple other ones that we have coming up with the guys we're going to visit for Big Cat, but they also have some decisions to make before their senior season gets started. I'm more concerned about some of those. We haven't done great in the trenches. All right, we got blocked.
More on that later.
Okay, all right. We need some work there, but defensive back, because of who's recruiting it and how we've done in the league with those guys, I have very little concerns and proved to be accurate. Glad we got them. Let's keep going. I want more.
So you want more? If I heard you correctly.
More.
Got it.
Yeah.
Ike, I was looking at some of the highlights of this kid, and the word that comes to mind, you say that you didn't coin this, but you emphasize the fact that this coaching staff, when it comes to certain positions, that they have a type. I'm starting to notice something here because it's something that really stands out with this guy. The word that comes to mind is versatile when it comes to this DB. We can see him play the boundary on the outside. He can play the nickel. He's pretty much all over the field. He can play close to the line of scrimmage. He can blitz. He can play run support. He's good in coverage. As they say, he has a nose for the ball. He flies to the ball, and it can make a lot of big plays in space. What do you make about this particular kid and his skill set and what it means for the secondary? And is this potentially a sign of is this a direction that you think this coaching staff is going in with having guys who can kind of be all over the field doing multiple things?
Yeah, I mean, versatility I think is important for guys who play in the defensive backfield. He played wide receiver as well. He's got good hands from the tape that I've seen. Like he's catching stuff outside of his frame, which, if you know anything about defensive backs, traditionally they don't have good hands, don't have good ball skills. Like if you're a cover corner, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can catch, doesn't necessarily mean you can locate the ball in the air and then, do something to catch it when it's kind of a weird contortion of your body type of thing. He looks like a guy who could do that. Physical guy as far as being able to play press into the type. I think what I'm seeing from the guys that they want to get is we're going to definitely be playing more DBs on an island out there. Guys out there that you are comfortable with leaving out there in space that can operate, like you said, play using the boundary as that additional defender and be physical out there. I think we're going to see a lot of that from this coaching staff moving forward. There's going to be zone concepts, but they're definitely going to allow guys to be out there just roving on an island and let them get to work. And he seems like he's a guy who would welcome that type of situation. But to your point, you could slide him in to the slot as well. He played some slot in high school. So hopefully from looking at the tape, I think he projects a little bit better at the slot than he does as the outside corner. But he's still got a whole other year of development, and I'm sure once he gets in here, he's a little raw just from what I've seen technique wise. I think that's probably because he hasn't concentrated on playing defensive back or wide receiver. Like once he picks a lane and he decides that the direction they're going to take him, which is likely going to be DB here, I think he'll start to refine those skills a little bit.
Again, I was impressed with how he played in space when it comes to zone, like his ability to just read the quarterback, diagnose, and just attack. Obviously in high school, you could do that a little bit easier than you can in college.
Right.
But I'm impressed with how usually you see one guy really good and strong at one thing, and then in the other, you don't really see much of that in the highlights. So to see him be able to do both things was kind of encouraging.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious to see how much weight he puts on when he gets on campus. If he bulks up any at all, is something curious to see as well. But again, a great pickup. We see some of you guys' comments, and we will definitely run through those. But I do want to say, when I look at the commitment list, we already have 4 DBs committed and are looking at more. Obviously, we're going to lose some people after this upcoming season in the defensive backfield, a lot of guys. So this coaching staff understands that and is addressing that by picking up some or going after a lot of kids. But I see a linebacker, 2 linebackers, a D lineman, a wide receiver, tight end, QB, running back. We've yet to have someone committed from the offensive line. Now, that's not because we haven't been trying. Obviously, there's some names, kids that they brought in. We had a big recruiting weekend a few weeks back where we had a lot of offensive linemen, and some of those guys have gone elsewhere or are trending in the opposite direction. But who remains is an unranked guy per Rivals. I think other sites may have him as a 3-star. Offensive tackle Reese Baker, who actually camped at Auburn during the month of June, one of their elite camps. 4-star inside offensive lineman DeAndre Carter out of California, who was one of the guys who was here on a big recruiting official visit weekend. It's an Auburn, USC, Texas, Michigan battle for this kid. But Auburn likes kind of where they stand with this kid. They're trying to get him back on campus for Big Cat. And then you have 3-star offensive lineman Jamison Riggs out of Georgia, who that appears to be a Auburn Georgia Tech battle. He's a legacy Georgia Tech. His father played for Georgia Tech, so they are believed to be in the driver's seat. But these are 3 of the guys that Auburn is looking at in terms of offensive line recruiting, who Auburn's seriously in it for. My question, Auburn has the opportunity to flip some guys soon. Obviously, we've talked ad nauseum about Perry Thompson. Other YouTube pages have been talking about Perry Thompson and Auburn's chances to flip him. DeMarcus Riddick makes a decision in a few weeks. He's a Georgia commit. He's expected to flip from Georgia. Not quite sure if it's to Bama or to Auburn. So Auburn has an opportunity to really make some noise in the recruiting battles with some of their rivals. But will the success of this class, just like recruiting classes of the past, come down to offensive line recruiting for this cycle? Your thoughts on this, gentlemen?
Yeah, it will. Well, let's say this. We can still get a good class ranking without enough offensive linemen, but we've played that game here before. What do we need? We need offensive linemen, and we still need a couple of defensive linemen as well. We know that the offensive linemen that we got, part of stacking the room up in the offseason was a lot of transfers. Not a lot of those guys have a lot of years eligibility. We don't have any 4-year starters that came in that group, maybe 2 or maybe 3, because I think Muskrat, he actually may have redshirted last year because he was hurt for most of the season. So Muskrat, okay, kind of, maybe he's a long haul recruit that we got in the transfer portal. Dylan Wade has 1, maybe 2 years. I think it's the same for the guy from Western Kentucky. Why is his name slipping my mind right now?
Gunnar Britton.
I was going to say, okay, Britton. So we've got.
I expect him to be gone next year, though, Dylan Wade.
I do too. He seems to be a left tackle that has enough attention where people would just be looking for him to have a decent year against the competition he's having, and then his value is going to be high enough that he can go.
If he's as good as Cole Kubelik says he is, I don't expect him coming back.
Yeah. So Avery Jones is also a guy who can go after this year. He has a decent enough year. He's gone. We did get a couple of really good recruits in this class that are freshmen, but I don't know that we have a tackle. That's really the issue. We've gotten some guys that project very well inside, but left tackle, it's Dylan Wade, and then I don't know who else it is after that. So we need some tackles. We need tackle depth, and we need tackle talent. Like we have a lot of tackle, we have a lot of guard talent and guard depth. We need some tackles. So we're missing that. We haven't been in it. We thought we were looking pretty good for House, right? I don't know if House was going to be a guard or a tackle, though, so I don't want to say what he may or may not have been. What is the plan here? Because we're very aggressive. DBs, no problem. We can snatch outside linebackers from Georgia. We can snatch quarterbacks from Clemson, Walker White. May be able to snatch a wide receiver from Bama, which would be an astounding accomplishment. But we haven't seen him to be very competitive when it comes to the offensive linemen so far coming out of high school. I'd like to see that change. I think it's a really good sign that we can be competitive in places where we weren't before, at positions and with schools we were just getting beat by. But we know what the key to this is, and we know Hugh Freeze understands that because he's made it such a priority since he got here. So what's the holdup? Is it more about, do offensive linemen need to see more what they're going to be walking into? With a lot of other recruits, skill position guys, they think they're the difference. I just go, okay, yeah, no problem. I'm gonna come down there and you telling me I'm gonna get this many targets, I'm gonna get this many catches, touchdowns. I can see it. Let's go. Offensive lineman, I think it makes more sense to see what the system is going to be. All right, so how much are you gonna be throwing? Are you really gonna put me out there? Are your guys gonna communicate well enough to not get embarrassed? Because I saw Auburn get embarrassed at offensive line before. Y'all looked bad there before. So you could tell me what you're going to do. And maybe it's easier for a wide receiver to buy. I'm the difference maker. I'm going to open up the whole offense. Because in some cases, if they're good enough, yeah, it's true. Running back, you don't really have to sell running back at Auburn. Y'all running backs look good, whether y'all look terrible or not. Okay, I'm on board. Let's go. Offensive line might be a different thing. It might be a different thing, especially with how much abuse the offensive line took, not just under Brian Harsin last year, but the year before that as well, when Bo was playing shaky, and a lot of that fault, that blame fell on the offensive line. So maybe I could see why they would need a little more proof, a little more, let me see what y'all are talking about. Hopefully the season can provide some of that, and we can get going for some of those offensive linemen. I don't want it to be one good year of an offensive line, and then we lose half of the guys who are starting, and then we're right back to fighting for scraps. Consistency is something that we need here in the trenches. Hopefully Freeze has a plan to target some really talented guys along the offensive line coming out of high school, because we know you can't keep plugging holes with the transfer portal over and over and over. We got to get them out of high school. It's got to be soon. I hope that they have some targets that we just haven't seen yet. I don't know, but I'm hoping it picks up soon.
Ike, your thoughts on it? And then again, there's some guys, and you guys are talking about them in the comments. Preston Taumua, he was on campus. The kid from Hawaii, that was always going to be a tough one for Auburn, and it looks like Nebraska's probably going to pick him up. Casey Poe committed to Bama recently. You mentioned House, B. Will. So Auburn has been in it for some of these kids, and it's been tough, but we've been competitive, and I think that's been something encouraging to see, even though it's led with disappointment with them choosing somewhere else. But Ike, your thoughts about this class as it pertains to the transfer portal, because we also already know that this coaching staff intends to go into the portal this upcoming portal cycle again and go after a lot of guys. How important is it for this recruiting class to have some kids out of high school from the old offensive line position?
Yeah, I think that they're going to try to assign at least 2 guys, and preferably tackles in this signing class coming up. But definitely would be happy if they did more than that. As far as the tackle position, Jaden Muskrat already mentioned somebody who can play this year or next year, right? And then you've got Isaiah Miller, the JUCO transfer, that is going to be out there that could play tackle as well. So we do have at least a 2 deep all the way around at the tackle position with Dylan Wade and Gunnar Britton. So we've got 4 tackles on the squad right now, and hopefully we'll be in a good position injury wise where we won't have to worry about that sort of thing. And then, of course, you're going to have the transfer portal to try to fill in the rest of those gaps. Interior offensive line, we've got those. I think we've got quite a few of those that are going to be still here in the coming years, between Jeremiah Wright, Tate Johnson, Connor Liu, Braden Joyner. There's more that I'm not thinking of right now, but with the interior offensive line, we've got quite a few of those guys in here. So not as worried about the offensive line, but I do think before the end of this cycle, we're going to sign a couple of those, probably going to be 3-star, right, guys? We might get 1 4-star, but more than likely 3-star guys. And then you're going to get JUCO/transfer guys that'll come in. So I think we'll be okay. Definitely would like to see more commitments right now. I just don't get super excited about commitments, because until the paperwork's signed, none of these guys that are even committed right now are the only person who in my brain right now is like, yeah, he ain't going nowhere, is Walker White. Like, he's the only guy who I'm like, he's committed.
And Faber did, because he's just as
he shut down
Amon Lane.
He shut down.
Amon Lane could. There's some guys who said they shut down their commitment, but like, again, Walker White's the guy I'm like, he ain't going nowhere, bro.
Provided that something happens to the coaching staff, they're locked in.
So I'm looking forward to signing day, and then I'll start to maybe get more excited about or worried about where we are with certain people. But yeah, I think that this coaching staff understands where we are, and they'll figure it out, get it right before we get to the end of the class. I'd like to see more happening right now, but I'm not worried about where we are as of yet.
You made a great point, Ike, in terms of this coaching staff is going to fill out the needs. They may not be a 5-star. They may not be a 4-star. And I think when it comes to those 4-star, 5-star, those big time offensive line recruits, it's almost like QB. You have to be kind of in on those kids for a while, and this coaching staff is playing catch up still. I think it's why it's been so impressive. We've been able to do what we've done with this class so far, given that we've been playing from behind for a lot of these kids. So I think you can expect to see. I mean, you may have a surprise here or there. Again, we did grab Connor Liu, but Auburn was always kind of in it for Connor Liu. This coaching staff just made up some ground from the previous staff and their mishaps. I just think for the long game, some of these big name kids that Georgia's picking up, Bama's picking up, they've been around for a minute. And so Auburn is just now trying to cement themselves in the conversation with some of these kids. And I think this is what we're starting to see. Also, too, I think this recruiting, this 2024 class of offensive linemen, at least in this area, isn't as impressive as previous classes, which is why you've seen Auburn go as far as Hawaii, California, to try to get some kids on campus who are impressive 4-star recruits. So I think this class too is kind of scarcity. It's some scarcity for some of your bigger names. So you may end up with some 3-star offensive linemen. I don't think we don't sign linemen. I just don't think they're as sexy as your DeMarcus Riddicks or your Perry Thompson and other key positions.
Right.
Let's jump to some of your comments and questions. We appreciate you guys again hanging out with us. Mac and Media, DJ Rock says, I'm a bigger Keontae Scott fan than Ike. Now, Ike, you go to the Keontae Scott fan club meetings. Do you see Mac and Media there?
I don't know who this is in real life, but you're wrong. It's just not a real thing. Can't be a bigger fan of Keontae Scott than I think, unless you're his dad, then I just don't,
Yeah, like, his dad don't count. His dad don't count.
You got to be like directly related to, grew up with him to be a bigger Keontae Scott fan. Like if you were following him at Snow College, maybe I'll give you that. But outside of that, yes, you're just,
Ike said he was a fan of him at his previous stop. Like Ike was watching film then. Like, he need to come to Auburn.
Like I can't. I don't. You're gonna have to show me something besides a message in our live chat. So
love it. Daniel Moultrie says Zach and Crime Dog are quickly making Auburn DBU. Thoughts on this, guys?
It's a little early to say that. I don't know about DBU, bro. Like we've got some good defensive back pedigrees, but and guys that have made it in the NFL. I still think we're not. I don't even think that we're the best defensive back in the like pedigree in the conference. I think LSU still has claim to that.
I agree.
Georgia's
above us. Georgia's had. I mean, that Georgia's been amazing the last couple of years. We probably are top 5. Florida's had some really great defensive back classes that they've put together. Maybe top 5, but DBU means that you're the king. And I can't put us at king, not even in our conference, but good.
Juice Heist says having Zach Etheridge is a gem for Auburn. The way he recruits, I'm nervous he will be poached in the near future. That'll be amazing because that means if he's getting poached, that means he's getting a raise and a promotion because he's probably some type of coordinator, He's picking up more responsibility and is actually growing in his career. I'd hate to see it because, again, in the middle of dysfunction at Auburn, he had an opportunity to join the coaching staff at Georgia.
Yeah.
He didn't join. So if he does get poached, it will be bittersweet, in my opinion, but I'm going to be happy for him because that means he's getting closer to his dream of, if that's his goal to become a head coach, he's getting close to that dream because he's taking a job that's giving him more responsibility and exposure. So I will be happy for him nonetheless. Guys, I don't know if you have any more thoughts on that.
I can agree with that. I think we'd be happy for him. Number one, he stuck through some terrible years here.
Yeah, he did.
And I mean, him being on the Harsin staff was a benefit. We were able to stock up on DBs. Like right now, we don't have to worry about defensive back in a year where otherwise Hugh Freeze would have had to rebuild entirely because Zach Etheridge was back there holding it down. We got a Keontae Scott. We got a DJ James. We got still a Donovan Kaufman, who I think is still very slept on as far as how versatile and effective he is back there. It's been him holding that group together, and it's why we don't have to worry much about that group right now as we look to make inroads. 8-9 wins, I think, would be a fantastic season. I think it's possible because we have one group in a pass-happy league in college football in general. DBs are okay. We don't have to do as much worrying there. I think if we have one really good year, he's gone. I think people know his value now, but I think he's here because he wants to see Auburn succeed. And so one really good year. Really good year, what does that mean? A double-digit win season. Yeah, I think we'd probably be saying bye-bye to Zach Etheridge. Crime Dog being back there actually gives me a little bit of a relief because he's a really good coach and recruiter as well. Probably not as good a recruiter as Zach Etheridge is and has been, but at least we won't have to just start over from scratch right there. But I agree. I don't think it's going to be too much longer.
All right, guys. So Nina, appreciate the super chat here. We got your question. What do you guys think about QB Austin Simmons going to broken, ugly Ole Miss? He has the grades, the credits to skip 2 years of high school. Thoughts on his age?
I mean, he's
He
a
was.
baby.
I've said this before on a different show. He's already 17.
Oh, that's right. This is
He-
the dude he's
Yeah.
grades back, but age,
Right.
he's okay. Right.
Age, he's old enough to be graduating already.
Mhm.
So this thing where he's, reclassified 2 years early, people are skipping over that part and getting to, oh man, he's not a baby. He's actually behind.
Of age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for him to have done all of the high school stuff necessary is great for him. I don't know how he made that up in that amount of time. That's great. But age wise, he's right where he needs to be. Him going to that school, that part is where I question, hey, are you that smart, kid? Because I just don't know why you would want to go to that school. Lane Kiffin, cool, great. But when you think Lane Kiffin coached quarterback in the NFL, what name pops to your mind? I'll wait.
Mac Jones? No.
No, I'll see it. Sark.
Okay.
Yeah, moving on.
All right. Yeah. All righty.
All right.
So Nita comes back and says, I want to say I love my War Report t-shirt. Thank you guys so much. I have a question. It may be a dumb question, but what do the symbols on the back of the shirt mean? LOL. Yes, I don't know.
Yeah, we don't show the symbols anymore as much because we don't focus on the no sunshine pump portion, but that's what it means. No sunshine pumping.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have pumped plenty of sunshine since then, which is
Yeah.
why we've taken the notion of taking it off the shirt.
We still keep it realistic though.
Yeah.
We absolutely do pump sunshine when we feel like it. Ben Blumworth says, feels like of Bama, UGA, Clemson is clearly trending downward. Only difference is they have an easier path to the playoffs. They've always have had an easier path to the playoffs coming from their conference. I think this season is going to be pretty telling of where Clemson is their trajectory.
I agree.
They've been a QB away from always being in the conversation, and I think with their recent struggles at quarterback, it seems as though they haven't been as dominant as they have in years past when they've had a dominant QB. This Klubnik kid has shown promise. So I'm curious to see with new offensive coordinator that they pulled from TCU, what they are doing on offense and how they look.
Right.
Could mean they back on top. Who knows? They back where they want to be. It remains to be seen, but I think what's been happening with Clemson has been their QB play has been synonymous with their tailing off as of late, but that may have been addressed and fixed. Who knows?
Who knows?
Who cares? Also, Cedric's Fuller. Sorry for butchering up your name. We will lose both starting corners and safeties after this year and probably K. Scott at nickel. So we need all the DBs we can get. I agree.
Yes, but if Pritchett is a starting corner, if you believe what's been said about how these guys look, then K and Lee is the better corner ahead of Pritchett. He's not as experienced, but we will lose a starter, but we may be better at one position, or Lee may be starting by the end of the season.
JD Rim, don't forget about old
As
JD
well.
Rim.
So I think we're going to be down one super impactful corner. I think Pritchett, experience-wise, yes, that's a loss, but it's not as much of a loss as it would be if we didn't have K and Lee already in pocket. Again, Rim and a couple of the other guys we've already got coming in. So Kaufman, Scott, and DJ James worry.
Scott would hurt. That would hurt.
Yeah. And sure. I understand if he would go too, because you need nickels just like you need starting boundary corners in the NFL right now. People throw it too much. So yeah, they're all going to be in a really good position to leave at the end of the season.
Chris S. says being up there with LSU and Florida means something. If there's a case for DBU, those two schools are top 5 for sure. Kind of, but pretty much what you have argued, Ike, there.
Yeah.
Anthony Rudd asks, is betting with B Will going down this season?
Yes, it is. We did it written on the website last year, and I think that worked out really well. It was easy to keep track of what we had said the week before. Follow up, share that link on Saturday mornings. We are from the Uptempo podcast, Blake, he's going to be doing some betting content with me. We're going to put it on pod. It's going to be pod only. But I don't know if y'all know, we retweeted from the War Report Twitter account. He just had a baby. So congrats to him and his wife. I'm not sure if that's their first or not. I don't think it's their first. I think he already had a child. Okay, so
I think it's his third, actually.
Also, he's no rookie to this.
Oh, yeah.
So that may put a little dent in the recording as we get geared up for the season. But before the season starts, at the very least, by week 1, we will have here's week 1, here's our picks, let's go in pod only. And I'm still going to do that content on the website, print it up so you guys can open it up on Saturday morning, read it, see what you like about it, add your own input and make those bets as well. So yes, it will still be going down.
Guys, you are watching the Weekend Tailgate, courtesy of Golden's Cast Iron. Guys, do us a favor, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, even share this content on social media. Let's pay some bills and acknowledge our sponsors.
This edition of the War Report is brought to you by our generous sponsors. AuburnSports.com. For news and notes on all things Auburn Sports, head over to AuburnSports.com. Harmon Mechanical, a heating and air company offering premier service to the Auburn area and surrounding areas. Give them a call at 334-219-0717 or head over to their website at harmonmechanical.com. Let them know the War Report sent you. Harmon Mechanical. We're there when you need air. And our giveaway sponsor, GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. If you want the best in the business at restaurant logistics, head over to gwt2energy.com. As always, thank you to the sponsors of the War Report. Thank you to those of you who've decided to join and be members of the War Report. If you want to do that right now, you can click the join button, whether you're watching this live or on rewatch. It's available there for you. Get a lot of great content that we have coming up. SEC Media Day is going down this week. Mike G's already headed to Nashville. As soon as this show ends, I am headed to Nashville as well. A lot of great content coming from there for you guys. If you are a member and you want to gift a membership, you can do that right now from the live chat. Giving memberships is giving the gift of love. Hashtag get your weight up right now in the live chat if you want to be able to enter the drawing to get a War Report t-shirt sponsored by GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. Make sure that you get your spelling correct, and we'll be doing that drawing here coming up in about 20 minutes. Don't forget that we have the podcast network popping right now, so make sure that you lock in with the guys at the College Loop Uptempo podcast. And, of course, we here at the War Report potting as the Auburn Express. Make sure you get that everywhere that you listen to podcasts. If you weren't here on Wednesday, you know, we got our fireside sessions coming up, sponsored by our show sponsor, Golden's Cast Iron. Make sure that you lock in with that, man. Great conversation with the wide receiver room. We got Jay Fair, Coy Moore, Camden Brown, all in here doing their thing, and we had a great time talking to them. That's going to be coming up here sometime this week. I think we're going to be dropping that first one for you all, so stay tuned. We'll have that out there for you very shortly. Some more scheduled to come later on this summer. And then, of course, we've got Golden's Cast Iron as our show sponsor. You can head to their website, goldenscastiron.com, wherever you are chilling out, working out, grill out. I said that in the wrong order. Doesn't matter. Golden's Cast Iron is still there for you. Actually, it does matter. We're going to say that correctly. Whether you work out, grill out, or chill out, Golden's Cast Iron is there for you. Use Get Your Weight Up as your code, 15% off of kettlebells and free weights. Code TWR for $65 off of your fire pits and Kamado grills.
And I want to say this because we actually did the fireside chat in B. Will's backyard because I am the only Auburn resident. I never wanted a fire pit. I didn't even think about getting a fire pit, right? And I got one, and me and my wife are giddy about like, oh, just wait when it's like the game's over. It's like a 2:30 game, and then it's gonna be like 6:30, and the sun's setting, and we could just chill out here. Man, it's so nice. It's very nice. I'm very excited.
See, and usually I be hightailing it back to Birmingham. You know what I mean? But you may tempt your boy to kind of hang out a little bit.
Hey man, look, we got the guest room already.
It looks really good. I ain't gonna front. It looks really good back there. Like, regardless of us shooting stuff, I was like, yeah, this is nice.
It's nice back there. Yeah. Thrilled.
While you're here, Ike, I'm gonna grab this one. Bankroll Block A says, appreciate the super chat. He asks, y'all gonna do a post live for the Cal game? I have an idea. I have a thought about this. I may be alone here.
Okay.
I'm thinking about purchasing some Auburn pajamas and doing the post live game in Auburn pajamas, almost kind of like a War Rapport sleepover, virtual sleepover party. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Something like that.
Do
Okay.
they sell silk pajamas so I could be in here looking like a little player? You know what I'm saying? Can I do that?
What you can do is you may have to get some just regular black silk ones and get like TWR, like on your chest or whatever like that on the side, because you got to show the taco meat.
Yeah.
Like an 80s R&B singer.
Yeah.
Had a taco meat showing in the gold chain caught up in the hair a little bit.
Shades on.
Yeah,
All of
shades
that.
on.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm down for that. I'm down for that. We're gonna do a post game. I don't know how long we'll be on. The game probably gonna end at 2:00 in the morning or something stupid like that. But we'll be here just being like, y'all saw that? Cool. I'll let y'all in the morning.
For real.
P-Pass says Mark Sanchez.
Talking about Lane Kiffin. He was the SC, wasn't he? Yeah, he was the OC. He was the OC.
So I'm gonna ask this question. I'm gonna ask this question again.
I don't.
So we're going with the butt fumble guy. Is that what we're doing right now? As the shining example of Lane Kiffin's QB tutelage, the butt fumble guy.
You know what? The more we talk about Lane Kiffin and whether or not he has like just some stellar talent that he's put in the league and that talent has thrived, the answer is obviously no. Okay. I think he's a good offensive coordinator. Not good. He is a great offensive mind when it comes to being a coordinator. He is not the guy that you think of about developing a quarterback and getting him to the end. He just how many years has Lane Kiffin been in the position to tutor a quarterback and get him to the NFL? Years. And the best example we can come up with is Matthew. What? Are we being for real? You mean Mark Sanchez?
Mark Sanchez, excuse me, not Matt. No, it's not. That's not a real thing, man. It's not.
Yeah.
I can give
if you got to go back to the early 2000s.
Also say if you are a great quarterback and you want to make it to the league, Lane Kiffin ain't the guy.
Yeah.
It's just not. And listen, I'm saying that as an Auburn fan who we have not put a bunch of quarterbacks in the league. But who are we touting as our great offensive mind?
People saying Matt Corral. We got to go back to the mid 2000s.
Matt Corral?
We got to go back to the mid 2000s.
I mean, they had him on the roster
in the NFL.
They had him on the roster and immediately drafted a QB.
We have guys that made it to the NFL. That is not the question I'm asking. The question is not, has Lane Kiffin coached a guy who made it to the NFL? The answer to that in all these years damn well better be yes.
Yeah.
How many of those guys do you think Lane Kiffin made better and then went on to have a successful NFL career? You can't name any. Zero. In all of these years, from way back when he was an offensive coordinator prior to getting the Tennessee job, he was an OC. Never. None of them.
You might be right.
You can't name them. They don't exist. Doesn't mean he's not a good offensive mind.
Right.
Just means he's not good at getting quarterbacks to the next level. Mediocre. Well, Gus Malzahn has a more successful quarterback in the NFL than Lane Kiffin.
I hate to agree with that because I think Cam Newton was going to be Cam Newton.
He was going to be Cam Newton, but he got him to come play for him.
Irrelevant.
He went to the NFL. He can't even get a Cam to play for him.
Yeah, but he doesn't like Cam. Cam's not his type.
Doesn't matter what his type is. He picks the type and does nothing with them.
Yeah, he does. He does pick them
repeatedly for over a decade. Same results.
We didn't got Ike worked up. Listen, let's get to the next. Let's get to the next topic in terms of Phil Steele. You know, it's just at that time of the year, and it's almost usually around the time for media days. Phil Steele kind of he puts out his articles, top teams, so on and so forth, All American, whatever list he comes up with his list. He came up with a top 2, or it wasn't top 10. It was he had a list of teams that will be among the most improved in 2023. Guess who made the list? Auburn
A&M.
made the
Oh,
list.
my bad.
Well, Texas A&M,
Yeah,
yes,
he did.
yes. We're only featuring 10 of the teams, because of course we got to fit Auburn in there. They coming in at 10. A&M was perceived as the most improved team, which means he expects A&M to really have a good season this year in the SEC. B. Will, you have kind of spoken about how you feel the recent coordinator hire on the offensive side will kind of fix some of the issues there. We've lamented that we do respect A&M's defensive coordinator, who was new last year. So with the talent they have, Phil still expects them to be amongst the most improved teams in college football, followed by Oklahoma. Another notable team on here is Miami, that they're expecting. A lot of people have been wanting Miami back for the past few years, and they just don't show up. So I'm curious about that one. But Auburn made the list. If Auburn is one, let's just say that Phil Steele is a prophet, and Auburn actually is amongst one of the most improved teams. Obviously, you're going to have a better record than 5-7 last year. Obviously, you're going to a bowl. But for that to be listed as one of the biggest turnarounds and one of the most improved teams, realistically, what kind of year does that look like? Is that a 8-4 year? Do you make this list if you're a 7-5 team? What do you see? What kind of turnaround, without seeing anything? What kind of turnaround would you expect Auburn to have to be considered, wow, Hugh Freeze turned this team around? They're easily mentioned in the same vein as an Oklahoma, assuming they turn it around.
8-4. 8-4. We went over the season, what we expected from each of the matchups that Auburn has on the schedule. 8-4 means everybody who you have more talent than, you beat them. And I think that's the least Hugh Freeze can do. That's the least we should be able to expect from a head coach. When you come in, you improve the talent floor, and you beat the teams that you have more talent than. All right. If we're playing cards and I got better cards than you, I should beat you, which means I didn't get mind tricked into to overshooting what I thought I had or thinking that you had better. No, I've got the better cards. I'm going to win this game. That is the floor of what we should be. That's something that Gus couldn't do consistently. Teams that we have more talent than, we lay eggs. And then, of course, we play up and beat teams that we are less talented than every now and then as well. We should still be able to do that. We've seen Hugh Freeze beat teams that have more talent than his teams, both at Liberty and at Ole Miss. But here, we have been victims of playing below a set floor. 8-4 means just following the floor, you win 8 games. I expect at least 8 wins for that very reason this season.
Ike, what say you about? I mean, again, this is just someone's perspective, but he mentioned Phil Steele when I read up on it. Phil Steele, he noted that Auburn is bringing back, even though this is a team that went into the portal and got a lot of people who we're expecting to contribute and actually start. He noted a lot of returning starters for Auburn. I don't know how much that factors, especially on the offensive side of the ball, because I expect to see a ton of new faces starting this year. So I don't know what that factors into it. But from what you see, obviously you want to see Auburn do better. But what realistically, how much do you see Auburn improving?
Well, I mean, listen, at least 2 games, I think, is where I would put the floor on that improvement. But I do wonder, when we talk about this whole thing, if we're giving Auburn credit for improving in that way, what does that mean that they are projecting Texas A&M's improvement to be if they're the number 1 on this list? Is that all a Bobby Petrino thing? Talent-wise, they already had a bunch of talent, so they didn't really even need to get better from a talent perspective. They just need to put a better product on the field. Same defensive coordinator, new OC. They're saying Bobby Petrino puts them in a position, which I didn't read the Texas A&M breakdown that they put on the any of the articles, or Phil Steele's breakdown of why he chose Texas A&M to be the most improved team. I only read Auburn's because that was the only one I was interested in. The rest of these teams could go away.
I'm gonna be honest, I did the same thing too.
But what I will say in regard to Auburn is I think 2 wins better this season is a realistic projection at the floor of it. So if we if we win less than 7 games, I would be surprised.
Yeah, me too.
I would have to agree with that as well. And I'm curious about. I think I would have to say it would have to be the Bobby Petrino effect for A&M.
Has to be.
Because that's the only thing that's really changed,
right,
with this team. So if you're expecting that, hey, Bobby Petrino is going to do what he's always have done with offenses, turn them around and have made them productive, and he's going to do it within a year's time.
Well, he's got more talent to work with than he usually does. Bobby Petrino does, and even though they lost a lot of people who jumped ship because they were just there for the initial NIL bump and then they got the hell out of Dodge, they still had a lot of talent that didn't leave, and they brought in a fair amount of talent as well. It wasn't a wash as far as, oh, well, we lost all these guys and then we recruited poorly. No, they still recruited fairly well. I think they had a very highly talented running back, Reuben Owens, I think was his name. And he said he just liked Texas A&M. I was like, I forgot you could actually like College Station. All right, I guess. So it's not just that they have the talent. I think it's fair to say Jimbo Fisher drops the productivity of the talent that he gets. Like, people get there to play ball on offense, and the only talent really there that held its own was a holdover of talent from Kevin Sumlin, oddly enough, the offensive line. The offensive line for Texas A&M was stellar for like 5 straight years. In Jimbo's first 2 years or so, he got to enjoy the benefits of that. Since then, I remember it's like, oh, well, they had a rough offensive line, so it looked bad. Yeah, but they actually have tradition and continuity of stellar offensive line play. If that drops, that's on the coach for dropping something that was already working when you got there. So I think it's fair to be concerned about that. I don't know what their offensive line recruiting has been like the last 2 or 3 years, which is it should manifest this year because that's something that's kind of in the cooker already. But what I do know is that I don't expect Jimbo Fisher to actually be able to ruin guys because Bobby Petrino's there. He will get them together. If he is going to be in charge of the offense will be better. He makes his offenses look good, play well, relative to the talent that's there. You think about like a second-year Lamar Jackson. It wasn't a Heisman season. His offensive line was terrible. His receivers were terrible. They were dropping passes all over the place, way more pressure. It was a different story. But year one, when all the talent was sound, Lamar Jackson won the Heisman. And I don't think that's a coincidence. That's what goes on when Bobby Petrino has the right pieces in place. Whether or not Texas A&M has all of them, meaning a stellar offensive line and running back and receivers, I don't think we know that. What it is fair to say is you can't be as bad coaching offense as Jimbo Fisher was. He's not going to be as bad coaching offense. It's really like you're playing below and negative, and now you're neutral just because Jimbo's not in charge of the offense anymore. And now you may even be positive on offense because Bobby Petrino is good at what he does. You do all that, DJ Durkin, I don't want them to get to 9 wins, but I really think they could win 9 games. I really think they could.
Given their schedule.
Yeah.
Given their schedule. Their schedule isn't as crazy. Well, I take that back. Their non-conference. The month of September is going to be pretty interesting for A&M.
Their schedule wasn't crazy last year. Like Miami was bad and they beat them, and App State is a group of 5 school. Like they should have beaten them. They lost games they had no business losing.
I agree.
Year.
I agree. I mean, you can make an argument they had no business losing to us when they did, but
they didn't. No.
They play Let me pull up Texas A&M schedule.
Yes, I think it's week 2 for them is Miami.
Yeah, it's early.
And then they play us 2 weeks later.
Yeah, they have us week 4. Yep.
And I'm not saying that. So I guess my question is, without really knowing the temperature amongst Aggie fans, how much patience are they giving Jimbo going into this season?
Going into it, I think this make a break for him. He knows that you're not going to get paid that much money and that type of talent and have a losing season. Like, that was a one-off. He should have been fired last year. So this is like, all right, last chance, buddy. Do something.
I guess my question is, you can start off slow but get better as the season goes along.
You can.
So is his seat? Let's just say he finishes September 2-2.
Ooh, I don't know. Because then he can recover.
That's saying a lot with Miami. I mean, again, there's 3 teams. Texas A&M has to play 2 of the teams on this list that, according to Phil Steele, expects to be not as bad as they were last year.
Yeah.
You're on this list too, which means there's a possibility you could lose to these 2 teams.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't know how that's going to play out, but how much patience does A&M fans give them if they start out 500 leaving the month of September?
Yeah, there's not going to be very much patience going on in College Station if they are 2-2 in September. It's just not going to be a real thing. People are already upset at the Jimbo Fisher experiment in College Station.
Yeah.
If he starts that season losing 2 of the first 4 games, the noise will be really loud.
And to be clear, neither Miami nor Auburn is more talented than Texas A&M. So,
no.
And that's really what it comes down to. If you lose, are you losing to Georgia on the championship run, Alabama on the championship run? Well, he's beating Alabama. They didn't win a championship, but you can do that. Then there are certain people you shouldn't be losing to.
Their schedule is kind of tough, guys. I'm not even going.
No excuses. No. No.
No, I mean, I feel you, but I'm just saying, let's just say you lose to Auburn. Let's just say that you lose to Auburn.
Okay.
You got Arkansas the next week. You got Bama the next week.
You should beat Arkansas. You're more talented.
You got Tennessee the next week.
Tennessee is interesting. That's an interesting one.
I'm just saying, I think he needs the month of September, is my point.
He does. Sure.
He doesn't need to get out of.
He can't drop both of them. He needs to get one of them.
He needs to split it to get.
It needs to be Miami that he gets.
Yeah.
I agree with that. You need Miami, bro.
Yeah, he needs Miami, right?
He needs that one.
Yeah.
The Auburn game, they can lose that one, no problem. Jimbo,
there's no shame in losing to Auburn.
There's no shame in losing to Auburn. Go just take that L, but you got to get Miami, fam. You got to get that one.
Yeah,
Jimmy T.
I want that for you, actually. Yeah. I want Miami for you.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not gonna be mad if you lose it. I'm just saying you got it. Like, that's the one you need to circle on the calendar. We need this W.
Must win. Yeah. I feel you on that. I do expect this team to improve. When you think about some of the games, we know what Penn State was last year for Auburn, and how for a good half, even though there were problems throughout the first half, Auburn was still in those games. I look at Ole Miss and how Auburn was in that game towards the very end. There was a lot of these games, Auburn was actually in these games. You're hoping that with the new culture that Hugh Freeze is building, that there's a belief level that these guys can get over the hump in those moments and not fold, whereas they did fold. I mean, we saw evidence of this last year when Caddy took over, that this team had more of a belief level than they did before, and they were in games a lot longer than they perhaps should have been.
Yeah.
What do you think is the X factor? Do you think it's certain players, a new coaching staff with a new scheme? Like, what do you think could be the catalyst for really sparking this turnaround? If we're going to get to at least 2 extra wins, what has to be different with this team, in your opinion?
The offense is going to need to be more diverse and have the ability to make defenses stay honest for more of the game. Number one. Number two, the rotation along the defensive front is going to have to be better. Now, doesn't matter how often you rotate if you're not actually possessing the ball enough to give your defense rest. So those 2 things need to go hand in hand. We need to be able to score points more prolifically and possess the ball, not getting into those early 3 and out situations, defense getting worn down. They're saving your butt early in the game and they're just exhausted second half of that game. So we need that. But then defensively, we need to be able to rotate consistently and have guys fresh for that fourth quarter stand that's going to inevitably need to happen in some of those bigger games.
B?
I think the key is for the faith that the offensive players now have in the offensive staff, which they do. And y'all will get to hear some of that soon when we drop the fireside chat, but have the privilege of hearing that conversation ahead of time. They believe in the staff. They see a difference between Harsin and his offense and Hugh Freeze and his, and we need to reward that faith early so they believe in it. They can see the returns on that faith and the work that is fueled by the faith that they have in the offense of the offensive staff. If we see those returns early, put up big points, and of course UMass, but also go out to Cal. Are they a great team? No, they will not be a great team. But you go that far away, however many thousand miles that is, and you're asked to do something that is, you're out of your element. You're out of your comfort zone, and you do it well. I think that we are looking very good. If we can win the month of September, go 4-0, which is completely possible, I think then we become so much more dangerous because they've seen what they've been asked to do work. We've had talent. We know we've been deficient in certain positions. At most positions, Auburn has the talent to win in the SEC. What we haven't had was the leadership and the plan to put that talent in position to win. If these guys see that return early, we know what that looks like in a 2013, right? We lost this game. Oh, we lost to LSU. But what they saw when they lost is they came out after half. They did what the coaches asked them, and it worked. The hole was too deep to come back from, but it worked. When you see something work, it does a lot for their morale. And I think if that happens, we could have a miraculous comeback season. I'm talking 9 or 10 if under those conditions. I think that would be the key. Seeing the offense work for the players who have been starving for some production the last few years.
I agree with that. I will just add kind of a mixture of what you guys have said. You talked about finding different ways to score. I think what was interesting about Auburn at times, even last year through all of the dysfunction, Auburn would jump out and get up ahead on teams.
Yep.
But what would happen is everything would go stale. Defenses would adapt, they would adjust, and there was never one of the things you heard us talk about quite often ad nauseum. There wasn't a counterpunch to what defenses and defensive coordinators were doing to adjust to our initial plan of attack. If this coaching staff can figure out how to develop a counterpunch with us offensively to where when we trot something else out middle of the second quarter, beginning of the third quarter, halfway through the third quarter, that defenses are like, whoa, wait a minute. They just adjusted to what we did. I ain't got nothing, player. Like if we can figure out how to do that on offense, I think that will get us out of the rut we've seen ourselves get in offensively. Yeah. We all know what it is. The first quarter, in many cases, unless you're just outmatched, we're feeling pretty good. It's a nervous feeling, because we've seen this movie before.
Right.
But we want to get to where second quarter, halftime, when we do our halftime shows, we ain't like, I don't know, bro. I don't know, cuz I don't know about this one. I want to see less of those because I feel confident this coaching staff knows how to attack this team. And I think if we can get there, I think we can see an improved Auburn this year. And they will be amongst the most improved because that's been our issue. What isn't an issue is someone's about to get a t-shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Now, some of y'all may not. That may be an issue for y'all. But you're getting one nonetheless. And we're giving away this t-shirt courtesy of GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. Ike, take it away, man.
Let's do it. Somebody's got to win this thing. 82 people have entered. Who is going to be the winner today? GWT2 Energy Consulting Services sponsoring a t-shirt giveaway to one Anthony Rudd.
Are you here, Anthony? Are you here? Let us know. I'll be looking out for him for sure. Ike, I think you got to bounce because you got to get ready to head up to Nash Vegas.
Yes, indeed. Hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I will see you guys at some point in time from Nashville.
You're going to be working
Yeah.
hard. Working
sir.
hard. Good to see you, man. Safe travels, and we'll look forward to seeing all the content you and Mike G producing up there.
Yeah.
Corey Waters, welcome to the fam. Appreciate you that. Antonio Smith says Lane coached Palmer.
Carson Palmer. Was
Carson
he the
Palmer.
OC for Palmer? That's
He
his one.
He wasn't okay. I don't know. He wasn't the OC.
He was the OC. Oh no, was he like the
He
wide
was on
receivers coach or
staff.
something?
He was like on staff, but who was the guy?
He wasn't the OC until later.
He wasn't OC until later. What was that guy's name though? Because they talked about him ad nauseum.
Let's see, Trojans 2001 offensive coordinator.
Kiffin may have been on staff.
Norm Chow.
Norm
In
Chow.
2001, it was
Norm Chow. So I thought it was him. Lane and Sark came on. I think they were on staff when he was like really had them cooking offensively.
2002,
and they
it was
stepped
still
into
Norm
the-
Chow.
Yeah.
2003, it was still Norm Chow. So hold
It
on,
was
let's see.
2004 was Norm Chow. He was there still then. I think it was 5 where you begin
Huh.
to see a changing of the guard.
So Lane Kiffin doesn't have any.
I think he may have Sanchez.
It wasn't until 2005.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got nobody. Oh yeah, that's good. I like that. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. So nope. No, sir. 4th and Kiffin strikes again. SS Austin says, does that make Freeze a bad QB coach because his QB didn't do anything in the NFL?
It means he's not a good QB developer. Obviously. I'm trying to think who. Okay, so if Lane Kiffin is a bad one, and I think we agree that Gus Malzahn is a bad one too. You can put together offenses that work in college, but your QB is not transcendent, as in when he gets to the next level, the things that you saw him do in college, he can do them in the pros as well. Now, who does it though? Who is actually a good QB coach? Like, again, now people like to hype up Lincoln Riley. I think Kyler Murray's a mediocre NFL quarterback, a hard to coach mediocre NFL quarterback to this point in his career. And he was able to dial up offense at OU because he had better offensive talent than most of the defenses had to battle him with. So who is somebody like, I don't know, every time that guy puts a guy in the league, he seems to do pretty good, or at least he's going to be around in the league for a while. Who is that? Is a QB developer really a thing? Are we just making that up because somebody has really good college offenses?
I wouldn't say Hugh Freeze is a bad QB coach.
No, he's not a bad one. No,
I wouldn't say that. What I would say about Hugh Freeze is So the thing I would say about Lane is this. This is a fair question by SS Austin. I think Lane is more known more so as a system coach.
that's fair.
Than anything else. Like he knows how to plug guys into a system and cause them to be successful. But the developmental aspect of it is questionable. Arguably, you can kind of make that same argument for Hugh Freeze as well, because Hugh Freeze has an RPO system that has allowed QBs to be successful.
Yeah.
And score points in bunches. But obviously, you need to know more than running the RPO to be successful at the next level.
Right.
And I think that's kind of the argument there. But I wouldn't say bad QB coach. And I think the thing with Gus is Gus had a system that was innovative, but he needed to innovate it again, and he didn't. Right. So even your system went stale. So I think for guys like Hugh Freeze, they've been able to innovate and keep a good productive system. Lane Kiffin as well. But I think it's not as easy as plug and play. Just because you're good in this system, you're going to get to the next level and just flourish. You can make that same argument with Lincoln Riley.
Right.
It's just that I think the difference between Lincoln Riley and even to a lesser extent Lane Kiffin, you're bringing in 4 or 5 stars. Eventually, one of those kids are just going to be transcendent and be good anyway at the next level.
Right.
Same thing with Cam Newton. Same thing with Cam Newton and Gus. Like, we're bringing in 4 or 5 stars. Some of those kids are going to figure it out anyway at the next level because they're just that good. Yeah. Hugh Freeze, given where he's been, has had success, but he hasn't had the talent those other coaches have had. So that would be my argument there.
That's fair. That's very fair. I still think Lane Kiffin's above though.
And I will never disagree with you on that.
All right.
Trash Panda says it all depends on Bobby Petrino and Jimbo's chemistry. Wonder if Jimbo's ego will allow Petrino to have full input on the offense.
That's a good question. I don't know if Bobby Petrino agrees to go and play lackey to Jimbo Fisher. It was like, listen, I'm better at you than this. So just give me this, call the timeouts and stuff, and I'll run the offense. That's what I would say if I was Bobby Petrino. But also, Bobby Petrino didn't have a lot of leeway because he was going to be what I think the head coach at Missouri State was the job that he had.
Mm-hmm.
So he was battling his way back. Maybe he had to concede some control to get this job. I'm not sure. I think they actually needed each other, both in just as desperate a situation, with Jimbo obviously needing help with the offense. Petrino, obviously, his reputation's so damaged, he's not going to get the type of jobs that he wants. So they need each other. I don't know where that middle is that they met at, where they agreed to both concede something. I don't know what it is, but I guess we'll see. We'll see. I don't know if it's ego for Jimbo Fisher. Not have to go in 5-7 and get beaten the laughing stock.
These coaches have egos, bro. These coaches have egos, man. Even at 5-7, you would have thought that Gus would have been humbled a long time ago.
Was humility Gus's problem, or was it tampering? Because that I think that's part of the problem.
Two things
as well.
Can be true. Two things can be true.
Yeah, it's true.
Because every person he brought in, they were taking cues from him, right? And most coaches will, but there was never anyone who could actually take Gus's system and tweak it and innovate it. You were basically there to run his system as constructed, regardless of the fact that it's past his expiration date.
Now, but the reason was because he knew that the administration would force him to hand over play calling. And if you got a guy here that you don't even, he put somebody in the OC seat that he knew wasn't a threat to his job, that would capitulate to him and what he wanted. He had the authority. I'm going to make this a hire. If it was Rhett Lashley, 2016, they said, hey, you got to turn this over. Now it's Rhett Lashley calling the plays. I don't think Gus ever wanted to give up play calling, but he had to do it because Rhett Lashley had been there long enough with just enough experience as Gus at Auburn, because he was his assistant, his QB coach when Gus was the OC. And when Gus was the head coach, he was the OC on paper. Rhett Lashley was. They gave him, Rhett Lashley, the reins. They forced Gus to give Rhett Lashley the reins. He didn't want to. But if I put a 12-year-old in my passenger seat, it's like, hey, this is the only other person in the car who can drive. So if you don't like my driving, that's who's going to be doing the driving. All right, fine, you can drive. No choice. I think that was a direct reaction to the administration trying to tell him what to do with his offense.
Perhaps. Antonio Smith says, I got us winning 9 games. The Georgia and LSU games is the only ones I'm worried about.
Yeah,
I'm worried about those games too.
Yeah. I am worried about those games.
That makes the 3 of us there.
Yeah,
I worry about that and a few more, but just 2 for you. Got it. We'll see. Yeah. Wesley Hilson says Jimathino.
I like that. Jimathino is good, Wesley. That's good. I like that.
Okay. I figured I wanted to hear from you, B, on that. Trash Panda says, I think we go 8-5, 9-4.
I think
so. In other words, he's seeing us winning 8 regular season games, and depending on what happens in the bowl game.
Yep, I like that. I think that's a
improvement.
good projection.
That's improvement. That's a good year one for Hugh Freeze, and a turnaround of sorts. James Burnett says, fellas, does Thorne has more or equal talent currently at Auburn versus his 2021 season at Michigan State? If so, a 10-win season is reachable. Thoughts on this?
I think the talent may be comparable, but the Big Ten has 3 schools in that conference that are consistently talented. One is elitely talented. That's the one. Michigan is very talented.
Michigan is right behind them,
and Penn State's right behind them, or right on par with Michigan, though they've had less success because Jim Harbaugh actually does. His talent comes in and plays to the level.
Then you got Wisconsin, which
they'll be climbing. They'll be climbing soon, but they've never been.
They're a team that they're from a talent standpoint, no, but they're always a team you've had to respect,
right,
in that conference. Outside, once you get outside of those teams, assuming they're even on your schedule, because some of these schools you don't even see,
right?
You don't see all these teams in a given year,
right? So Michigan State, I think they definitely play. I think they're in the East with the rest of the good teams. So they play Ohio State every year. They play Michigan every year. And I think they play Penn State every year. So the 3 most talented teams in that conference, Michigan State plays. I think we're in a very similar situation where we are going to play 3. Ohio State is the only team that recruits at the level of an Alabama or Georgia. Let's be clear here.
But you have Alabama, Georgia, LSU, even A&M.
So we've got more minds to avoid.
Arkansas.
Here. No, I don't like giving Arkansas credit for anything. They are mediocre.
We lost them last year.
We were bad. It's not that they were good.
I know that, but what I'm saying is that he didn't have to worry about an Arkansas in between. These are teams you have to worry about in between your Georgias and LSUs, and these are sandwiched in between your Ole Misses. They're sandwiched in between LSU and these other and your A&Ms, right?
Yeah.
You can't look ahead to these teams because you're focused on these teams. And I don't think that Michigan State had to worry. You have to respect your Purdue's, you have to respect your Minnesotas, but does it sound the same as Arkansas? Does it sound the same as Ole Miss? Does it sound, you see what I'm saying?
I agree. The floor of it's like they've got 3 Vanderbilts on the schedule. It's like they've got I would say LSU and Ohio State are very close in as far as how good they are year after year after year. Not in how well they recruit. Ohio State recruits better, but on the field, they don't actually end up being elite like Georgia is or Alabama is.
Right.
So our floor is the worst team we're going to play is in Arkansas, probably. This year it'll be Vanderbilt. But what if you had 3 Vanderbilts on your schedule? Right. Which is Rutgers, which is at certain parts of the year, Maryland, depending on the year, which is your Iowa's going to have a really good year. Then they're going to have a year.
Illinois used to be a punching bag.
Illinois was a punching bag for sure. So that's really the biggest difference. So can he get to 10 wins? Well, they had more gimmies on that schedule in 2021 than Auburn ever has.
That's what I'm saying. That's my point there. I think our schedule is tougher. Even if our talent is comparable, our schedule will most doubtably be tougher than what they had.
Yep.
10 wins is possible, but you just never know what happens with the rest of the league.
Right.
So, again, I look at what happened with South Carolina and Tennessee. Granted, they were beating them pretty well before the Tennessee's quarterback got injured, but my point is we've seen what happens when injuries take a toll on teams. Things happen. Targeting penalties affect teams for upcoming weeks or even in the middle of the game. You just never know. So I just know that Auburn has a more of a tough schedule. So a 10 win will be euphoric and amazing. I'm not counting on it in year 1.
Right. That's fair.
Wesley Hilson says, has fall practice schedule been released yet? I haven't seen anything. Have you, B?
I have not. It's been mostly about media days here recently.
It's probably going to be released shortly after media days.
Yeah. I think when I can see that. All the
Like
attention
next
being
week.
about, as soon as we get back from it, or even maybe during media days, we'll hear about that schedule.
Yeah, that's what I expect. We don't have. I didn't see Anthony Rudd. Did you?
I did not. Anthony Rudd, please speak now or forever hold your peace, sir, because we're going to have to redraw if we didn't see you, and we did not see you, so we don't want to have skipped you.
Want to pull that back up then, sir, for us, and then we get back to drawing, because
let me get this going.
while he does that, guys, enter hashtag get your weight up in the comments. Hashtag get your weight up in the comments. Of course, this is courtesy of GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. That's our guy, Walt Taylor. Appreciate you, Walt.
All right. So restart right now. I got 14 because it started over. So y'all, we're going to give y'all a couple minutes to get back in here. And I'm going to share this screen. So
and of those who are doing it have, we don't, people who may have entered early in the show. So now we're starting over again. Y'all know what to do. Hashtag get your weight up. And we are ready. B, you ready?
We got 26 entries. I see some more climbing in here. We think we should go for C, about 30, 40.
Let's wait to 40. Let's wait to 40. Get in there. I see the get your weight ups trickling in here. I'm gonna give y'all some. I ain't gone, so I'm gonna give y'all some time to get in here and get a chance to win. Wait, almost at 40. Almost at 40. Do we got two more? 40.
Yeah,
draw that
spinning
thing.
it. See who we got.
And we're just going to assume you are here. Jordan
Ingram.
Jordan, let us know that you're here, sir. Let us know that you're here. Please let us know that you're here. We will look for you, good sir. B, you got any closing thoughts, man?
Closing thoughts, it's always good to get a recruit. It's always good to get a good recruit, a recruit that other very talented programs are after. That speaks well for us. Jazz Jordan, you want to give him that info?
You can finish your thought.
I want to see it on the line. I want to see it on the line. Like you and I said, we're still going to get some bodies at offensive line. I don't think we're going to pull a Gus and just not have any players come in that play tackle when we know we need them. But still, we're talking about how competitive we have been against Georgia at outside linebacker, against what we expect. We expect ourselves to have a chance with Riddick here at linebacker, with Perry at wide receiver. Bama's been stellar at wide receiver. Georgia's been stellar at linebacker. If we can out-recruit these guys at those positions, why can we not out-recruit anybody at offensive line? Like, I don't know. I'm concerned. I don't know if there's a specific reason for it. I do think some of it's what you said, which is when guys don't have these long-standing relationships with these offensive line recruits, it makes it more difficult. Maybe they are more the commitment type, which means, hey, you talk to them for a long time, commit to them. They kind of stick with you through a long high school career and then just go where they said they were going to go. There's less flipping. There's less room for movement with offensive line. If that's the case, next year we should be in prime position, right? Because there should be some guys we were on this cycle that we will continue to be on for the next cycle and have a really good chance at landing some top tier 2025 recruits. But yeah, I want to see it. I want to see the offensive line recruitment pick up.
I agree. And I do expect to see it. I think this staff has shown that they are able to go into the portal and get what they need as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
I've been impressed with that. But again, I do understand that they're kind of behind the 8 ball in terms of recruits, period. And O-line can be tough, especially in a class where you're recruiting against Bama, Georgia, some of these bigger schools who've been in on these kids much longer.
Yeah, that's true.
So again, I do think they feel the need. It just may not be as many stars by this kid's name as you may expect. Yeah. And then who knows? It's last time I checked, B, it's 5 months to signing day. There's a lot of time for them to make up ground. You'd be surprised. Coaches will add other people to their boards that may not have even been in the picture. It happens with a new staff all the time they come in. So I have to believe that this coaching staff is already thinking, okay, we miss out on this kid. Who's next? Who are we
Right.
looking at next? And so you may see new names appear. It's a lot of time. So we will definitely see that. Jordan, we see you, sir. What we need you to do us a favor. Congrats, first of all. Email us, business at the War Rapport. Email us and send us your shirt size as well as your physical address, and that t-shirt will make its way to you. Congratulations, and thanks for definitely checking us out. And we want to thank you guys for supporting us. And become a member. We got some good content in the off season, man. Shouts out to Ike Jones for definitely putting together some dope content throughout the week. $5.99 to get you there, guys, to give you access to all of that. We appreciate you guys. Even if you're $3.99 or even just a subscriber, we appreciate you guys supporting us in some form of fashion. A big salute to those of you who have taken it to the next level and have hit that gifting button, as you can see displayed. You've gifted some memberships. If you've done it in the past, we appreciate you guys. We thank y'all for helping us out. That membership will give you 1 month free. And if you want to continue to get access to some of that special content behind the paywall, you can sign up based on the previous graphic to maintain your membership. But this is a great way to grow our family and our community. And we are so ever grateful for you guys for doing just that. We did a drawing, guys. If you didn't win, you can always go to our store to get your merch there. And we have a long list of amazing t-shirts, all types of stuff that we've put together over the years. I mean, the store has grown tremendously over the past few years. Definitely go there to check our stuff out. Also, on thewarreport.com, we're definitely going to be kicking up with articles during the season. I would do power rankings. B. Will would write some stuff. So be checking out thewarreport.com for that content there as well. We're doing a promo with our show sponsor, Golden's Cast Iron. Code Get Your Weight Up, 15% off weights. Code TWR, $65 off of fire pits. Kamados, definitely do that, guys. We want to shout out our show sponsor, Golden's Cast Iron, for making this possible, as well as sponsoring our show.
Yeah.
Guys, be on the lookout for the Fireside with the War Report. We're going to be dropping some content this week. I will hope to be down there for the next one. And by the way, more is on the way. So be on the lookout for that, guys. Definitely looked amazing. You guys know I'm still on my day job, so getting me down there for these fireside chats is a little tough for me, but I would definitely try to make one of these in the future. Definitely, guys, navigate over. If you're at work, on the treadmill, in the gym, and you need something to listen to, definitely make your way to the War Report Podcast Network, where we have amazing content creators in the College Loop, the Auburn Express, and the Uptempo Podcast. I listen to them throughout the week on the ride to and from work. Great content. Those guys do an exceptional job, as well as the previous podcasts that were provided as via the Auburn Express. Definitely be sure to check them out, guys, and we greatly appreciate you. In the meantime, share this video before you get out of here. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Also, you can find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at The War Report, or TW Report on TikTok. That's it for now, guys. We will definitely check you out. Morning drop style. But you're going to be in the morning, right?
Yeah, I think they're trying to go live from media days from Morning Drop. We hadn't quite worked that out. I'm going to be in the cut in case it doesn't work out. But yeah, Morning Drop's still happening. So we'll see y'all in the morning, man.
You may see a surprise type of morning drop. So yeah, it's going to be media day style for sure. But until then, guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend. And as always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.